Ladies and gentlemen, it gives me immense pleasure to be hosting season two of Ground Zero Everyday Leaders, a show that has been widely accepted by a set of audience who have been very encouraging and motivating in many sense. In fact, since the last episode we broadcasted in season one, which was in December, there were many who kind of were inquiring as to when is the next episode, and not many knew that it's going to be season two, which was supposed to be this one. And so, with that, I welcome you all to episode one of season two. Who would have thought that we would still be sailing in the same boat that we did last year in terms of the pandemic? And speaking of boats, the guest we have tonight is very much connected to one. Ladies and gentlemen, please allow me to welcome uh, engineer, rather second engineer, Amit Khare, to episode number one of season two.
From securing the first prize in various arts competition during school days to being having scored the highest marks in marine engineering, this talented martial arts trained yet humble person brings in the aura around people that distinctly is sought after nowadays. Amit Khare completes 23 years this May with Morse Line Limited and presently is sailing on a 19K vessel which carries 19,000 containers. Ladies and gentlemen, allow me to welcome our second engineer on board.
A marine engineer by profession, my buddy, my schoolmate, Amit Khare. So, Amit, a warm welcome, buddy, and thanks for joining in. Thanks for taking time off, rather, and spending this few moments with us tonight. Thank you, Amit.
Thank you very much, Alan, for inviting me to this show. And I'm really honored to be the first guest for the season two.
Absolutely. Well, Amit, you probably have seen a couple of our previous episodes, or rather, our episodes broadcasted in season one. And the whole intent and purpose of why we do this is obviously a lot of thought going into empowering the youth, and or rather providing them the source, or you can say probably the appetite towards leadership. And I have
Yeah.
interviewed 10 great guests last season.
Mhm.
And that has brought in a lot of energy into the program because many of them follow this program now. In fact, it was missed. People didn't know that season one would end in December. Uh,
Right.
and many were asking or inquiring about when we would have season two. And so
Mm.
finally, we are here in the month of April. I was hoping that the pandemic would have been all over, but nature
Right.
has a different story to tell. Regardless, and nevertheless, we move on. We carry on doing what we are supposed to be doing, and
Absolutely right. Yeah.
I'm honored to be in fact having you as my first guest. And for the audience, let me actually bring in this information, or rather provide this information, that I'm interviewing Amit, who is presently in quarantine in Mumbai and about to be probably in quarantine for the next 14 days or so uh, before joining the ship. So that
Right.
itself tells you how life has changed for all of us. And Amit, you have been doing nothing different. You have been juggling around this new today or new tomorrow, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
And yeah, so that is really appreciated, and we we are with you in these times. So thank you once again. Probably dive into that question straight away. Being a marine engineer, we would like to understand from you during the pandemic, what are the challenges that you are, as a sailor or sailors for that matter in general, have faced?
Well, because of the present pandemic, uh, s- signing on and signing off of the ship is a big challenge. Um because of the borders closing down and number of countries shutting down, we seafarers we face a lot of a challenge. So at the same time, the HR department is on their toes to get the people on board relieved. You know, so uh, for signing on, the requirement by each country is that either we need to do a 7 days quarantine or 14 days quarantine, and then we have got a lot of formalities to be done before we go on board, which we need to fulfill. So, like for example, I'm joining in Singapore, so the requirement by the Singapore government is we need to do 14 days compulsory quarantine. Uh, Alan, one more thing I would like to point out is that uh, when the person reaches at the destination country, it is a possibility that they can have a surprise PCR test done for the full flight.
Right,
And if one happens to be found as positive, then the full flight passengers need to do a 7 days or 14 days quarantine as per the country rules.
right, right.
So then in that bargain, we tend to miss the ship.
Right. Wow. Well, Amit, I think we've had enough of that, and I don't want to start the season two of this show speaking about the pandemic. It's one thing that we probably are expected to live with, but at the same time, we cannot carry the heavy burden in our minds, always thinking and talking about it. So I think it's a very clear mandate that this is the new normal till we find a 100% solution. And I think the new normal also suggests that we follow the safety protocols to the maximum by following the simple things, the simple SMS, the sanitizing, masking, and social distancing. I think that's what we need to do and continue with our routine. And so we will continue with our routine,
Yes.
Amit. And I'm straight away getting into your childhood, or rather your days in school. Amit, we all remember that you were a great artist,
Yeah.
and you used to do a bit of art. You have to throw some light now in this show as to how you actually gained that talent in you.
Well, the talent has comes from my genes. It has come from my parents. Both my parents were good artists, and during the school days, uh, we used to have this gambling contest, which used to be
Yes.
there, and I used to participate and uh, what do you say, represent the school by participating in the gambling contest. And at every level, I used to win the first prize, which I really thank my parents for guiding me. And another instance, if you remember, when the new standard is to when we all used to go to the new standard, the class teacher used to always uh, ask one of us who is going to draw the timetable for the class, and then all the guys used to point out finger at me.
Right.
So I ended up doing the timetable, which I really remember about it. Yeah.
That the fact that you went into making timetables probably drew your way towards a marine engineer's life, because you guys are so systematic in what you do. Is that what it is, or is there something more to add to how you actually chose marine engineering as your career, Amit?
Yeah. Well, my dad was a seafarer, and he was a chief engineer on board. After he left sea life, he came to Goa and joined Goa shipyard as a superintendent. And during and then thereafter he joined ABS in a classification society as a surveyor.
Mhm.
Then when I was small, I used to follow him for the ship launching and ship survey, and that fascinated me to probably join the shipping, you know, and that's how uh, ship has become my passion.
Right, right. Well, it is quite fortunate for the people of the port town of Vasco to be having that institute that has, I think, you know, that has created, or rather, there have been so many engineers who have evolved from that institute, right?
Yeah,
That's really given a lot to the port town. Uh,
absolutely.
you know, we can talk more about that, but the question that comes to mind, Amit, is as a new recruit, let's say you started your career very young, and you joined the ship,
Hmm.
you know so when you join a ship, I can imagine it's like joining a college hostel, basically, where
Yeah.
you get bullied and ragged and so on and so forth. At least that's the impression that we get. But is it the fact, I mean, is that what happens on the ship? I mean, at least let's say during your times, is that what happens? And what are the challenges you see that a new recruit faces?
Yeah. When a new cadet is a person who has never seen a ship in his life, and
Right.
he joins the vessels for the first time. Similarly, for it goes for the crew as well. So uh, the challenges what he normally faces is that he needs to adapt to the sea life.
Yeah.
And, secondly, he needs to adjust to the food and the culture. He needs to adapt to. Uh, he needs to overcome the language barrier since
Hmm.
uh, it is a multinational crew on board, and being away from the family, one tends to get homesick. Huh? So normally the contracts for junior engineers or junior officers is about 5 to 6 months, and
Yeah.
for the crew it is normally 9 months.
Hmm.
And for the management level like me, senior officer, it's
Yeah.
3 on 3 off. So there is a possibility that uh, due to the non-availability of the relievers, one cannot get relieved on time. So the contracts can be extended. So that these are the challenges normally people face, you know. And because of this present pandemic, as you see, all the companies around the world are having are facing a big challenge, you know.
Right. Well, I should have probably asked you this question before I dived into that question about the new recruit. What are the opportunities that one gets, when you talk about a sailor life? There are a lot of opportunities that come to mind straight away, some of which you probably already touched base on. But if you can elaborate a little bit more on the sort of roles that one can get. And I completely recognize the fact, Amit, that there are a lot of types of ships as well, right? There are the merchant navies, and then the cruise liners, and every ship or every owner of the ship has a different role to play.
Yeah.
But what are the job opportunities? Let's put it in terms of job
Okay.
opportunities when we're addressing it to the youth. What are
Okay.
the opportunities that youth have when it comes to a seafarer's life?
All right. If youth wants to join shipping, there are options like there are maritime college all over the India which recruit people after 10 plus 2.
Yeah.
So either they can opt for the engine side or the deck side or the catering side. and also for the ratings as well. So as per the path being chosen, once they come out of the college, maritime college, they can be absorbed in the shipping companies.
Mm.
Like a day cadet, he can climb up the ladder and he can become a third officer, then second officer, chief officer, and thereafter he becomes a captain. While in the engineering side, a engine cadet can rose up to become a fourth engineer, third engineer, second engineer, and then the chief engineer. And another thing is once the person reaches at the management level, he can take up a shore job as a marine superintendent, wherein he has a number of ships to be taken care of, and he can also join in the safety department, who will take care of all the safeties of the uh, ships
Right.
in the
Well,
company.
we see a lot of our Goan youth, and especially a lot of Goans have got into merchant navy for many years, and we
Yeah,
know, that many families have built around the careers that seafarers have actually brought into their lives, right? And I think that's been very respectfully kind of accepted as one of the best professions in places such as Goa. So we highly commend you guys, and there's a lot of respect for seafarers here. Now, one of the questions that comes to mind, Amit, is during the pandemic, I'm sure you have your own associations, as in associations of employees, or for that matter the owners. But how have the shipping industry come united together to face the challenges that the industry has faced when the pandemic hit the globe?
yeah. Well, Alan, the shipping industry is the only uh, lifeline which has transported a number of medicines, various medical equipments from the manufacturing plants that is in China, and that has assisted other countries in the world, thus saving lives, you know, and saving on the cost while the ship is transporting all this medical equipment and helping the world to recover back from the crisis. You know,
Right.
so shipping industry played a major role during this pandemic.
Call you guys COVID warriors, and we certainly respect that as well. Amit, who would you categorize as your role model growing up?
Well, my role model would be my parents, who have taught me enough to stand on my feet and inculcated the good culture in order to become a successful man. And always they have taught me the good things in life. You know, so all credit goes to them without saying. Secondly, in terms of professional life, I have two persons which I would like to mention uh, as my role model. One is my dad, Suresh Khare, who was a chief engineer and a senior ABS surveyor. And secondly, my dad's younger brother, who is a master mariner, Captain Ramesh Khare, who have always been behind me and supported me.
Right. Well, it seems like a family of marine engineers right there, Amit. And I know even your brother Rajesh have contributed in many ways to this
Yes,
industry.
absolutely.
It is a matter of a lot of pride for the family, I'm sure. Well, Amit, let's move into some sort of an adventurous sort of a mode right here, because when you talk about sailing, of course, Popeye the Sailor Man comes to mind immediately.
Yeah,
But beyond that, I mean, there are movies which we keep watching about the pirates. My favorite one is Captain Phillips. I
Yeah.
love the movie, and of course, there are many who did like Pirates of the Caribbean as well. And the reason I bring it is I'm sure you have a story that you would have experienced on board the vessel.
Yes.
Please enlighten us, or rather, narrate a couple of those incidents, Amit.
Yeah. Well, I had two incidents in my entire career. One was a pirate attack, which I had, and I was on a gunpoint, and it was really a scary situation.
Oh my!
Yeah, this had happened in the year 1998 at Port Sabetiba. Our ship was alongside, and around midnight, I had come back from the shore, and around the same time, the pirates had boarded the vessel, and after a few minutes, one of the pirates caught me, and I was on gunpoint. And thereafter, they took me to the engine room.
Wow!
And since the engine room is a pressurized area, they thought the engine room door was closed, so they gave me a bunch of keys to be opened. But then I just pushed, and we went to the engine room. We got some crowbars. We came up to the accommodation. In the meantime, there were about 9 guys who had already scanned the accommodation. And further, they took me to the captain's cabin. And thereafter, the captain was caught by the pirates. And since they had the master key, they ransacked his cabin. All the crew members on board were being collected at the master's cabin, and at the end, they locked us in the emergency janitor room.
Wow!
So this full episode took place for our nearly 7 hours, from near midnight until 6 in the morning. Thereafter, we had a able seaman who was a skinny like a paper.
All
We
right.
pushed him up through the mushroom ventilator, and thereafter he broke the door. And we went on the bridge. The captain called the both authorities, but then there was no response for nearly 45 minutes. Thereafter, the authorities came on board. We told the story. We gave our statements to the police. So this was one of the incident. And second incident I had in my life was we had a murder on board.
Okay.
Yeah. So basically, our company has a drug alcohol policy, and this was enforced from past 8 years, to be precise. So alcohol is banned. So, but then when the ship comes alongside, there are some people who will go against the rules and get the alcohol on board. The crew had a party that evening. 3 of the crew members were in high spirits. They had a difference of opinion, and then one of them stabbed 2 ABs. This crew member was called a Viper. We need to catch him because he was in high spirits and he was out of control. So on the bridge, I was the person who caught him. Since I think many of our school colleagues, they know that I have learned martial art. I believe, yes, Bipin would be the best person.
Absolutely.
So that came in force, and I caught the person, and I took up the handcuffs from the captain, and I locked the uh, Viper, and
Well,
that's how he came into control. And thereafter, at Port Buenos, we gave it to the authorities, and then all our statements were being taken, and then thereafter the dead bodies were being picked up uh, by the authorities and taken off.
wow.
So it was
That,
a
that, that sounded like a movie, Amit. Nothing
absolutely,
less.
yeah,
Nothing less than a movie, and it also should remind whoever takes the marine engineers lightly. You cannot take them for granted because they've got a sort of a karate belt under their belly as well. So, how critical is your role as a second engineer on board? I'm
yeah,
sure there's a lot of importance that, or other important role that you guys play on the vessel.
yes. My role as a marine engineer, it's a huge responsibility at a management level and at a operational level. As I'm the engine room in charge, I need to see that all the equipments on board are running efficiently.
Mhm.
So also I have to make sure that the vessel moves from point A to point B, like from one port to other port without any uh, hurdles. When the ship is uh, when the ship is alongside, on getting permission from the port authorities in a stipulated time, I need to get the work done, the maintenance work done. Either it may be on the main engine, generators, or any system on board
Mhm.
in that stipulated time. So uh, it's a very critical job that needs to be done with all the safety taken into consideration.
Right, right.
Uh, Also, another thing is like I carry out a different role as a team leader, a mentor, a teacher, uh, and a guide to my engineering team. So apart from this, I've got the administration work and the operational paperwork as well. Uh, during Prior to arrival of the vessel, I need to make sure all the safeties on board are running efficiently and working condition, because there are chances that the port state control or the flag state control, they come on board to inspect the overall condition of the ship.
Right.
This they do it for our own benefit, because
Mhm.
out at sea we are the people uh, going to face if there are any challenges.
Right.
So these are the things like I need to take care.
Right. If anyone thinks that a marine engineer on board does nothing but fixes the nuts and bolts, I'm sure he's got a wrong impression about it. You got more than just the nuts and bolts to handle on board, Amit. Amit, if at all you have to give one advice or rather an advice in general to the youth who are watching this particular episode of season two, what would that be, Amit?
Okay, Alan, I think my advice to the young youth is that they should explore the possibilities of joining the shipping,
Yeah.
which will give them a different exposure and experience, which one will not get in a shore job. So, they need to choose a correct path, focus, and work hard in order to become a successful person in life.
Right.
That's all. Yeah.
Right. Well, in fact, it's quite similar to what, or rather, the advice I typically provide to, I'm sure everyone who comes from a particular background has some advice which has influence coming from what their profession is, right?
Yeah.
Having spent a lot of time in the Gulf, my advice to the youth has always been, spend a few years in the Gulf, working in the Gulf, and the reason you do that, you become very independent. Number one, you learn a lot of importance and value of being independent, of course, and also the value of spending money and the importance of money.
Yeah.
I'm not saying money is everything, but what I mean is the importance of money and how it is to be used is understood when people go primarily out of their house, especially when you go abroad or you sail just like yourself. I think there's a lot of things to pick up from such experiences, and that is what I think commonly your advice suggests the same as well.
Yeah.
Uh, so Amit, I think we've had a wonderful time, talking to each other. I know you have a few more days ahead of you to spend in solitude in just one room, and that's quite a taxing thing. But as you rightly said, by God's grace, you have tested negative, and
Yes.
so I think you look forward to that next event in your life, which is to sail. And we wish you a very smooth sail going forward.
Thank you very much.
And the best of life, Amit, to you and your family, as always. So thank you once again for joining in today. Amit, finally, but not the least, today being your wedding anniversary, I would like to, on behalf of all your classmates and of course Leadership Studio, the people working with me and who are associated with me, we would like to wish Swati and yourself a very happy wedding anniversary and many more years of togetherness going forward. So congratulations both to you and Swati, and
Thank you very much, Alan.
all the best.
Really
Amit.
appreciate it. Yeah.
Much blessings to you guys. So take care, Amit. Thank you.
Thank you.
Audience, I'm sure you guys have enjoyed today's episode. My discussion, or rather my interview with Amit today, my classmate, who is today a second engineer on his way to become a chief engineer very soon, God willing. And then that's all we have for tonight's show. I hope that you all enjoyed it. It's season 2 of Ground Zero Everyday Leaders, and we start today with episode number 1, which we just you just had the experience of viewing. So please continue to join us in our future episodes. Don't forget to subscribe to my YouTube channel. Keep enjoying the show. Do contribute with your own comments, and if you have any suggestions, we always welcome them. It's said that a smooth sea never made a skilled sailor. And today we are experiencing, absolutely, today we are experiencing a turbulent weather out there. Not just Amit in the sea, but I think all of us in life are experiencing a turbulent sea. But the good thing about it is we have all been through this before. And I'm sure with the experience that we've had and the skills that we've all had, whether it comes from science, whether it comes from human nature, whether it comes from Mother Nature, I'm sure we will get through this pandemic. There's no other word for it, right, to describe it. This pandemic very soon, and we will come out of it, and we will see the beautiful blue ocean the other side. So Amit, with that, let's conclude and have a great one. Cheers.
Thank you. Cheers.
Thank you.